Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Beverly Hills View. Our guest is singer, songwriter, actress Kiki Ebsen, who was born and raised in Southern California, earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts from California Institute of the Arts, and upon graduation, she won the Collegiate Talent Showcase. So her future was already launched. She embarked on a singing and playing career by touring the United States and the continent with platinum-selling artists. She was supporting them like Tracy Chapman, Al Jarreau, Boz Scaggs, Michael McDonald, Christopher Cross. Kiki Ebsen's exciting lifestyle can take her to a jazz festival where she's a headliner, to the stage singing with the symphony orchestra, or to the theater, where I saw her telling the story of her father, actor, dancer, Buddy Ebsen. Kiki's friends, who were Grammy Award winners and platinum-selling artists, inspired her to keep on writing her own music. And Kiki, since we are in Beverly Hills, we would like the audience to know that you are from the lovely Beverly Hillbilly family.
Right, exactly.
But you don't actually live here, right? But welcome.
I lived here for a couple of years.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, so welcome.
Thank you.
And you are part of this great Hollywood family.
Yes.
Yes. So you were kept out of the limelight, though, in a way, right?
In a way, I mean, yes and no. Both my parents are actors. My mother had a theater down in Newport Beach. She's a Vassar graduate in theater.
So that's why you were down there.
Yes, that's why we were. Well, we were down there for a few reasons. One is because my dad's a sailor and he wanted to be near his boat. So, but my mother. What the point is, my mother and father were actors. My mother had a children's theater, so we grew up in a community theater environment. And of course, my dad became a huge star as I was growing up. Actually, when I was, by the time I came around, as I say in the show, he was already Jed Clampett. So, but they had this way of being very down to earth with the children. So we were living in we were living in Beverly Hills on Hutton Drive.
Oh, you were living in Beverly Hills?
Yeah, we were.
And then spending a lot of time in Newport because of the theater?
No, we moved there in the early 60s because my dad wanted to be near his boat during the Cuban crisis.
Oh, so
he was afraid, so we could take off. That's because they're such a bohemian. So, and that was really the honest God truth. We all piled 7 of us into this 2-bedroom bungalow in Balboa Island, and he had a boat down there, and then he got his series, and we got a bigger house. But that was the lifestyle I grew up with, and my mother started her theater down there. So we were doing a lot of plays, a lot of performing, but I never considered it as something I would do as a career. I gravitated to music. My sister became an actress. So, but yes, we were sort of kept out of the party circuit in like the Beverly Hills or Hollywood Hills actor.
That's what I was thinking, because if you're down there, it's not that far. But
no, but in the 60s and 70s, it was, it was a sleepy town.
So if you're down there, you're not in the midst of everything that's like other movie star kids were going through.
That was not what I was drawn to. In fact, fame and that celebrity kind of freaked me out a little bit because my dad was so famous that we couldn't go anywhere without these mobs of people, and I really didn't like it. I like anonymity to a certain degree. I mean, I love doing what I do. I love being recognized.
Right.
But I don't like this sort of like, you're a celebrity, I need to touch you, and that's sort of.
Is that how your father, it was with your father,
With my dad, people wanted a piece of him, and then because I was his daughter, even in grade school, kids were coming up to me and like grabbing, they grab my hands and touch, they just wanted, it was creepy.
It is creepy.
So, I was like, yeah, I'll just be over here. And then I got into horses, and we got a ranch, and I started showing horses. And meanwhile,
where's your ranch? All the other way.
That's all the other way. That's in Agora.
That's in Agora.
I'm still
so
there.
It's like the opposite way.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
We had these two like polar opposite, but very
Really?
close to nature environments in which to grow as artists. And I think that's what my parents were They're true artists, always creating, and that's what was really important to them.
But I didn't realize that even though you weren't in the midst of this Hollywood milieu, you were being influenced by theater, by your mother.
Absolutely.
What about music?
Oh, music. We went to every concert. I saw Ella Fitzgerald and Stephen Eady, and we go to all the classics. I've seen Otto Rubinstein and Arthur and Horowitz, and we were always at the Hollywood Bowl, and everywhere my parents could influx the culture and music, and also all the we saw all the productions of like first the original cast of Hair and Oliver.
So the Broadway theater,
Broadway
musical theater.
Musical theater, plays. My mother traveled all over the world as an ambassador for the California Theater Arts Council. So she dragged me to London, and we'd go to Russia and Zagreb.
Really?
Of course,
what
New York.
What name did she use? What
Nancy Wolcott Ebsen.
Oh, she did use Ebsen.
Yeah, she used the name Ebsen. And she was very active in using theater in education. So she traveled. She had a whole program. She used to come to my school, which was a blessing and a curse.
Here comes Kiki's mother.
Because she was really pretty. She was a tough cookie, you know.
But that was so great. She was taking it into the educational realm.
Yes. So we did we learned history through theater, and it was fun. I mean, I look back on it and go, that was pretty cool. At the time, I was kind of terrified.
So how many were you?
There are 5 in my immediate family. There are 2 sisters from my dad's first marriage.
And did they live with you too?
Well, my one of the sisters did before I was born, because there was a bit of an age difference. I'm the youngest of the girls.
But so she had you girls.
My mother had 5.
Your mother had 5.
5. Well, she actually had 6. And I said in the show, the first child died.
But she had 5. So she had a big family, a big career, and a really important husband.
It was really challenging. She
was a great woman.
She was a great woman.
Really?
A great woman.
Really?
I honor her. She's really a big driving force, as well as my dad is. And again.
Yeah, you were so lucky. So was your father a dancer always?
Oh yes, that's his family. His father was a dancer and a swimming teacher, and they were raised in
the boat.
I know, swimming teacher, dancer, and he had a swimming like a swimming pool, a place where people go swim, and he taught ballroom dancing in Belleville, Illinois.
Oh.
Then he moved that too because of his wife, my grandmother's health. They moved to Orlando, Florida.
So was he singing too?
I think he started singing. I don't know when he actually started to open his mouth to sing, but it was probably part of his New York experience, because when he got there and started dancing, he was really getting parts in the chorus. But then he got kicked out of the chorus because he was too tall. He was 6'3". It is height, major youth. At the height of his youth, he was 6'3.5".
So you didn't get much of the singing genes, because you're a singer.
I'm a singer, and my mother's a singer.
Oh, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
where
my
those
mother's a
genes? Your
singer.
mom was
Yeah,
a singer.
Yeah.
So when you got to Cal Arts, what were you deciding to do?
I have no idea. I
Because
bumbled
that's such
around like, I really did bum around for a few years, not really knowing. I graduated early. I was a smart kid, but I really
You moved
didn't.
from high school.
From
Then
high
you
school.
went to Cal Arts.
Then I went to college a couple times, and then I went
Oh,
to
you went?
Cal State Northridge a couple times, and then I ended up at Cal.
Because
at
Cal
Arts.
State Northridge has a great program too.
They do, but I am a bit of a struggle with I don't read very well, and so they had a hard time. Like, I didn't understand theory. I love parallel fifths, and if you know music theory,
Oh, so how do you
parallel
do it?
fifths are terrible. They're bad. But I love the sound of it. So I'm a composer. So they kind of encouraged me not to go into music, like maybe something else. But I went to Cal Arts, started studying piano there, and it's a great.
because you were
I'm a pianist, yeah, and I auditioned for the choir, and they freaked out over my voice. I had no idea what they were talking about, but they thought I had a really good classical voice. So I entered the vocal department there, and got my degree in concert voice.
So who did you study with at Cal Arts? Were there special people?
Now you're gonna make me try to remember my teachers, which I don't remember.
But was
there were a
it-
few different teachers there, and there was a coach named, I can only remember his first name, Fred, who really, really did a brilliant job coaching the singers, to become opera singers and to sing the classics.
And did you do that?
I did one opera. I did Marriage of Figaro.
You did?
Up at Cal Arts, yeah.
So you had to remember, sing it in what language?
In Italian, yeah. But you know what? We were learning languages. That's something that's required when you study classical voice.
Exactly.
You have to study languages. You have to study acting.
Right.
You have to be able to know what you're singing. You can't just sing, the Italian or the French or German or whatever it is. You need to know what the song is about. So that was really fun. So I graduated from Cal Arts and immediately went another direction.
Went some other way.
Yeah.
You mean
completely.
from classical to pop or
Well,
something
I'd always
else?
been a pop you know, like I'd always enjoyed rock and roll
Yeah.
and pop music, so it was really a departure to go, although I love classical music, you know, I never thought I was going to be an opera singer. That seemed very far away from my dreams.
But you could have done
I
it.
could have done it. My mother would have loved it.
Oh,
She would have loved it.
we would have loved having an
Yeah.
opera diva here
Well, I
today.
think, you know,
we have
you-
another kind of diva.
There's always time. I'm just coming into my operatic voice.
So you do play an instrument. You play the piano, and when you
Yes.
wait music, do you use the piano
Yes.
or
I
you
typically
do?
use the piano, sometimes the guitar, but mostly the piano.
Not a computer.
Well, I've used my fair share of computers, but I don't. I mean, the computer is there to record the music or do some of the sampling. And my first job actually was using computers and music, computers and keyboards. That was with Chicago.
So when you're writing songs, you use the
I
piano.
use the piano, and then I translate it over to the computer if I want to record it or if I want to use synthesizers.
So after you won this talent award, did you go on stage with anyone, or you started just going
It's
all
a-
sorts of places?
More like that.
all sorts of places.
I'm sort of led through life. If you were to look back, it was like, wow, she went there, and then she went there, and there was no direct like, I'm going to. All I ever wanted to do was play in a band. To be quite honest with you,
And play the piano?
I played the piano in a band. I didn't even want to sing.
Well, they had all those girl bands then.
I know.
Remember?
Actually, I was invited to audition for the Go-Go's, and
Oh, good. They were good.
But
way before
no, not the
you.
Go-Go's. I'm sorry, the other one, the Runaways.
But way
I-
before you, that Ina May whatever had the women's band on TV in
Oh,
the 50s.
Right. Yeah. Oh, amazing bands. Yeah.
I know. I was just thinking about that when you said you wanted to play in a band.
But that's all I ever wanted to do was play in a band. So I joined a bunch of bands, and and then I went.
they
you
were
know,
all rock and roll.
They were all
though.
rock and roll bands, and that was through my whole through college days. Then after I won the American Collegiate Talent Showcase, which was really fun because Mary Hart was the MC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Ned Beatty was one of the judges.
Did you know them?
I knew them after that.
Oh, you didn't know them before?
No, because it was Mary Hart, you know. So anyway, I won that, and then I got a job with the rock group Chicago.
Oh, Chicago, right.
Yeah, but as an offstage keyboard player, computer tech.
Oh.
Very techy.
Did you know how to do the computer stuff?
Yeah, I had a company for a while that did music software.
Oh,
So I knew it, but it was a job that was kind of an up and coming job. No women, not a lot of women doing it, and it was the late '80s.
So with Chicago, it was on stage, but it was off stage.
It was off stage because they're all
They're a
guys,
they're a
right?
boy guy.
band. They're a boy band.
Right.
But now I find myself like just on the heels of winning this beautiful competition. My parents, were cringing because I'm going to go on the road with 18 guys.
Oh my gosh.
And be behind the stage, and I'm gonna play keyboards like Oz, like the Wizard of Oz, and not be seen. And they're like, "Well, you should be on stage." I'm like, but it was a great
you should
opportunity.
be on
They wanted me on
stage.
stage.
Yeah.
So, but it was such a good opportunity, also again to get away from my dad's name a little. I really didn't. I mean,
But
love.
you were using Ebsen.
I was using Ebsen, but I, really wanted to find my own path.
I was going to say, did it open doors? Did you use it? Did it
No,
close
it
doors?
didn't open
Did it
any doors.
Didn't open any
It
doors?
didn't open. It made me more of a conversation piece in the music industry. You know what I mean? Like,
What can she do?
Well, yeah, so she's really up. So let's see, and
Let's see what she can
see what
do.
you can do. But when you go out on the road, it's technically a roadie. I
Yeah.
mean, you're pretty much saying, F you to the
And
whole
nobody
celebrity
knows
thing.
you, right? Exactly.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go do my thing, and I was starting the circus basically, and leaving town. And like, where are you going, my golden child? But it was great because I got a great opportunity to see the world. I started my touring. That was my first real big
So
touring
you're
job.
moving, right?
Did some records with them. Got a couple, gold
They were
records and a
so
platinum record.
popular, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was David Foster was involved in
Yeah.
the production. And then the next gig I got was the Dream gig.
Which was on stage?
It was on stage with Al Jarreau, who
Al
at the
Jarreau.
time was the ultimate artist to be on the road
And what
with.
was he singing? I mean, what was his big hit?
That he had just released a song called Heart's Horizon, which was not one of the big hits, but before that was, After All and Boogie Down and Morning Mr. Radio, it's escaping me, but
Keep singing, it's great.
So he
was the first person you went on stage with?
he was the first big artist, yeah. And what was nice about that is that all the A-list band musicians were playing in his band. So once you've played in his band, the whole touring world opens up for you. And that was I was playing in the band with Ricky Minor, and I don't know if Ricky Minor was the bass player who went on to be the MD for The Tonight Show. He's the MD for American Idol. He has a huge name in the music business.
So, so were you singing on stage?
I
with
was
him?
playing keyboards.
You were playing keyboards
and singing.
And so, what do you call that? It's not backup, is it?
You call it a keyboard player who sings. As I hate to tell you this, but on the road, if you call yourself a background singer, you've just demoted your pay about $1,000 a week.
Because your from a backup?
Singers got paid less than the musicians.
Oh, so you did better.
I did better.
As a
I
keyboard
did a lot
singer.
better, yeah, definitely.
So then did you go to the Pasadena Pops?
No, I did that last year.
Oh, you just did that last year. Oh, so you're still
I mean, I sang with
doing-
the orchestra in college, but no, this was my whole trajectory from there. Was just playing. I played keyboards.
And
sang.
who is this? Who is this?
Oh, this is Pasadena Pops. I did the Music Under the Stars. It was actually a couple summers ago. And that's with Larry Blank, the resident conductor, and the wonderful Pasadena Pops. And it was to open up their season 2 summers ago. It was a terrific honor to sing with them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Look how
and that's
good.
something I want to do more of. So all you orchestras out there, I
Look
have a
for you. We
great
have
show.
we have Beverly Hills, the Lawyers Orchestra. You
Oh,
can
good. I'll play with the
yeah.
Lawyers Orchestra.
So I'm going to put a couple of people
Okay.
up on, like Boz Scaggs.
Yep.
We'll put that up. You tell us what you did with him. So when you were with,
Oh, there's Boz. Well, he's another one of those A-list performers that all the best musicians travel through his band. So I went on the road and we did a tour opening up for Stevie Nicks,
oh wow,
which was awesome. And Boz is such a
So
consummate
did you
gentleman.
sing with Boz, or were you still on keyboards?
Both.
Oh, both.
That was my thing. I was a keyboard player who sang, and so they got kind of 2 for 1. So if you look at it, actually,
I see.
they got a better deal. But because I was such a good singer and also such a great pianist and also a synthesist, so
Oh,
a
so you-
synthesist can get all the strings and the bells and the really
Everything
specific
together?
sounds, and I can run computers. So I was a triple threat
Oh, wow.
in my touring days. It made me very popular.
So Wilson Phillips, those people are like a product of California, Los Angeles.
Total.
And they were younger than you, probably.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. They're about
They were
10 years
younger than
younger.
you. What'd you do with them? Same thing?
Well, so I started with Wendy and Carney Wilson when they first started wanting to come back together to
Oh,
sing,
right.
but China didn't want to come back. So they put me in the 3rd singer slot.
Oh, you sang that?
Yeah, I sang in
Oh.
China's spot, but I've also played keyboards, but still sang because they were the Wilsons. They called themselves the Wilson sisters.
Right.
So I sang all China's parts, and then I did come out and we did some stuff together.
Oh,
And then China came back.
but that's fabulous.
Oh, it's-
that's so great.
Terrific, and I love harmony singing. I really love the way
And
the parts
they're
intertwine.
so good. They were so good, weren't they?
They were really great, and they're
brilliant.
nice girls. And that I recently, that picture was from I reunited with them last year at the Texas State Fair. And we did. A show together.
At Interview, we did interviews of the celebrities' kids, and they were one of the
Oh.
interviews we did.
Carney's
because of-
amazing. I see her a lot. We do a lot of
Do you?
shows, together.
And Tracy Carpenter. Tracy Carpenter.
Tracy Chapman.
Oh, Chapman.
Tracy Chapman.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I said Chapman,
You
and then
did.
I changed it. Right there, she is.
Yeah, she. Wow. Well, that's an iconic singer-songwriter right there. I mean, she is, she's an amazingly interesting, complex person. Her songs are great. I mean, I started with her in 1996 on the New Beginning tour with "Give Me One Reason." She went to the Grammys. She won the Grammy for Best Rock Song.
You were with all the great people.
I got lucky. I really did.
No, but they must have like recognized your talent.
Wait, well, of course.
Of
What can I
course.
say?
I must say.
I think I did my job well. My dad always had, he would say, in terms of advice, is show up early, know your lines.
I mean, yeah,
right?
exactly. But
I-
that's a professional,
It's
right?
a professional, so it's not just about talent and being able to play the parts, because a lot of these parts, with the exception of a few, aren't that difficult to play. But can you play them when you're asked to do it? Can you get along on the road? And that is a big deal when you're touring with a small group of people all over the world in sometimes small quarters with long travel days. Can you get along? Can you be responsible? And I was. So.
And were you with Christopher Cross?
Oh my God, I was with Christopher for 23 years.
You were? So you
Yeah.
get along?
Well, I don't know if we get along. No, I'm kidding. Christopher's great. I've been through many incarnations, band incarnations. I've done 2 live DVDs with him. The last one was at the Trianon in Paris, and he sang at my wedding.
Oh.
He also sang at my dad's service. So he's definitely
like part of the family.
Probably, yeah. And,
So you don't have to get along.
We don't
You're
have to,
gonna have the
exactly. We don't have to get along anymore. We're family.
Part of the family.
But yeah, I enjoyed my time with him, and I learned a lot. And I've always said of all the, I love playing my own music the most, but of all the music,
Did
his
they
was
play
my
your
favorite.
music? Any of the people we
You know,
mentioned?
the first time I went on the road with Christopher, we did one of my songs from my first record over 20 years ago, and we were in Europe, and he put it in the set. I thought that was really
Oh, that was
kind
really
of him
good.
to do that.
So we've talked about being from orchestra
Mm-hmm.
on the stage to rock and roll on this way. What kind of songs were they? Were they all different with all these people we've talked about?
Yeah, I mean there'll be like
music,
like
what kind of
Jarreau
music?
was at the time R&B
Yeah.
with some jazz because he's a jazz singer, but he went into the R&B pop world, and that's where he had his High Crime record was really more of a pop record, and then I did like straight ahead like Belinda Carlisle. I played with her for a little bit, and then there's Christopher Cross, and there's Boz Scaggs.
So all
Michael
different
McDonald.
styles.
R&B, pop, jazz with a little bit of rock, I would
Okay.
say.
And you do a lot of jazz festivals. Does that take a different kind of voice, a different kind of mindset?
Yes. I've lately in the last couple of years, since I've sort of come more center stage, I will even have a pianist just back me up, and I'll have a jazz band. We just did one of the in San Gabriel. There's the jazz nights in San Gabriel, and I headlined that this last summer.
So what do you sing at a jazz thing?
Well, you'll sing some of your basic standards. I'll do some of the songs from Scarecrow Sessions, from my jazz record that I put out that basically supports my dad's show. I like to do my own arrangements, but I also like to give the band on some tunes a loose arrangement and let it morph into something more live.
So that's more jazz?
That's jazz,
the jazz.
yeah.
I
The
see.
jazz part is you don't want to be too rehearsed. You have a structure,
I see.
and then you improvise, and then I am really getting more into my vocal improvisation, which is really fun for me. Very fun for me, where you don't know what's going to come out. You don't know what the band's going to play, and you just intertwine.
We've been talking to you about all of your singing, all of your playing on stage, all of these people you've been with. When we come back, we're going to take a break, but we're going to come back and we're going to talk about your acting and how you're doing this play about your father.
Great.
We'll be right back.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
Hey, look at Mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Beverly Hills View. We're here talking to Kiki Ebsen, the daughter of Buddy Ebsen of the Beverly Hillbillies and Barnaby Jones and on and on and on. And she's doing a show about her father, which has taken many, many iterations, I think. And we have his autobiography, The Other Side of Oz. So we're going to show you a clip right now, then we're going to go back and talk to Kiki.
And he leads the ear through an Irish reel. The catfish is dancing round body, but can't like a sardine down. Struck it left or right, meadows mooching, what a night. There won't be a hook in sight at the codfish ball.
at the Codfish Ball. How did that little girl do all of that? I can see you doing it on stage and singing it, but that little Shirley Temple?
She really was an impressive talent. In fact, actually, ironically, one of these letters, this letter actually has my dad's whole account of working with Shirley Temple. He said, you know, just in a nutshell, that she was a little clip, an intense little, he called him a little clip. I think it was like just a little, you know, she was a little fiery thing. But that she had a healthy contempt for the industry. They worked her really hard. He said they worked her like, it was like slavery, and you know, in that sense that she just had to work early hours, couldn't, you know, had to study. I mean, 16-hour days for a 6-year-old.
But she was so talented that she was able to do it, I guess.
She was exhausted all the time. And so the story in my show is that, you know, my dad was trying to get her to come and rehearse that dance piece because it was very complicated. And she didn't have time. And she says, I'm not going to learn it until you've finished it. And she wouldn't come to this, you know, she wouldn't
she waited for him to finish it?
She comes, you know, for this first meeting, and he says, it's not done. She says, I'm leaving, you know, call me when it's done.
She's a little girl like
yeah,
that.
he was really angry about it. And then he realized she couldn't afford the time to learn or possibly
But she was
relearn.
so smart to know that she had...
Yeah, but amazing. She had a lot of rabbits, apparently. That was her
that was her
thing.
So why did you write this play?
I was inspired by, after my parents had passed away, you know, you start to miss them in a really profound ways. And I had kind of, like everybody, good times and bad times with my parents. And as I made my choices and career choices, and they made theirs, we sort of became distant, especially with my father. He remarried, and I wasn't really a part of his life as I got older, and that was sad. So I was there with him at the end, though, which was very good.
That's
and then,
so great, yeah.
Yeah, and then he passed away, and I was like, okay, I made my peace. I said what I wanted to say to him, but I was cleaning out my mother's house after he passed away and found this hidden trunk in her sewing room, and this is a true story. I tell you it in the show. And then it was like the songbook from The Wizard of Oz. You know, it's like this incredible, really incredible. There, yeah. It has his name on it. You know, it has his notes. There's a script from Born to Dance. Now you can't really see it, but
this was
is
all
MGM.
in the...
All the scripts from the 30s and the 40s when he was just starting out in New York, and all the letters he wrote back to his family, and all these amazing photographs of him dancing. And while I had known he was a dancer and a singer, like a vaudeville guy, it wasn't real to me growing up what that meant. Now it was real. And I went, oh my God, and think about the songs that are in here that are available to record from that era, you know, Easy to Love and Codfish Ball. And my dad always wanted me to be a jazz singer. I sang rock and roll. So all these ways to connect with him, you know, posthumously started flooding into my brain. So I recorded Scarecrow Sessions, which is the CD that supports all the music in the show. And it's all standards, all songs from those shows that he was in. So Moon River, from Breakfast at Tiffany's. And the Wizard of Oz story I do, If I Only Had a Brain, I do Over the Rainbow. After I started performing that, I started telling the stories in between about how this song came to be and how it was important to my father and how it was important to me.
Kind of like cabaret, is that?
It started as a cabaret show. We did it
I
at Catalina, the
That's
the
what I
jazz
was wondering,
club, and
yeah.
we did it at Vitello's here in North
So you
Hollywood.
give a little story about
Exactly.
each piece?
I did it at the Metropolitan Room in New York. And my brother started showing images in the back. I went, wow, it's starting to morph into something more. And then a director who had seen it at Catalina's, S.C. Feinberg, who's a wonderful writer and director, came up and just said, you know, I think you guys have something here. You know, I really encourage you to move it more into the theater. And we did. We just worked with him, and we started.
So did he start writing it with you, or
I
showing
wrote it. I
You wrote
basically,
it
they're my
all?
stories. My brother did all the multimedia. These stories are all basically from my accounts, and then we made it more into a script. So these are definitely my recollections. It's also my coming of age and coming to terms with wanting to individuate from my family, yet come together in a healthier way, if that makes
Well,
sense.
now, because I think of time passed, you can accept what was there.
Exactly.
And this is a way to help you do it, I guess.
Exactly. And
because you come on, you look at the trunk, you start talking, you have his hat, you have his jacket, all from different things. I mean, you
Right.
talk about these scripts that you brought with us today, and you did this cute,
Oh, yeah.
sweet thing with this DVD.
It's not a DVD. That was back. This is This is called a 45.
Oh, a 45.
It's vinyl, kids. It looks like candy.
It looks beautiful,
We have
actually.
teeth marks on here from when we were kids, like I was trying to eat it. But it's called Angelica, and my father wrote it with James Mason Howard, his writing partner, and it has this little storybook.
It's
and
so
oh my
cute.
God, it's so
And you
cute.
show this on stage.
Yeah, we
you
show
talk
it.
about it.
And it's about this, and I love the irony that she's a redhead, and loves cats, as I do. She's a naughty girl, and she's always just getting herself into huge trouble. And my dad is who sings the song, Angelica, just says, you're just gonna have to try a little harder, and tomorrow's a new day, and so it's all about her.
It's so good. It's so.
She
so
becomes
real.
a better girl.
and it actually is like talking about his daughter.
Yes, well,
Don't
we
you think?
laughed because he had 6 girls, and we figure he had a lot of material
So
to draw from.
so we talked about the iterations. Then it finally came on stage off
Yes.
of like a venue, a musical or a theater type of venue. What would you call it? Music at the Catalina
Oh, cabaret. It was
Cabaret,
definitely
like out of a cabaret.
Yeah, it came out of a
venue.
cabaret act, and then we did it at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center last summer. And
when I saw it at the Theater West, which
Theater
is
West.
a nonprofit, did
Yes.
that have anything to do with your choosing that place?
yes, and also, even more importantly, Lee Merriweather has been a member of Theater West for
she's-
37 years, and Lee Merriweather is a dear family friend and co-star of Barnaby Jones.
Oh, so it was.
So it was through her connection. Earlier this year, I was at the theater to honor her. It was a night honoring her, and I saw the theater for the first time. I went, well, it reminded me of my mother's community theater, and nonprofit as well.
That's what I wondered if that had an involvement with you.
And of course Lee Merriweather's involvement, and they were so nice. I thought, well, I'm going to investigate it, and it worked out really well.
When I saw it, I heard your friends talking to other friends saying it's changed so much. So that's why I was wondering where it was before it got to Theater West and how it had changed.
Well, by the time it got to Theater West, we'd put it in 2 acts.
Oh,
We'd
see.
added the story of The Beauty Inside, which was my discovering my own voice and coming to terms with some family, just pain of growing up and going through the emotions of just life. And I get pretty vulnerable. And I think it's important to understand how I was disconnected not only from myself but from my family. Came to terms through my career and through the love of music and how music saved my life. My songwriting, being able to express myself, brought me to a place of evolution that I can now look back on my whole life and on my siblings and my parents and with so much love in my heart and go forward with this incredible message that I think everybody can relate to, because we all have regrets.
Because it's very moving. You even cry on stage.
Oh, yeah, I do.
mean,
And I will
think
cry
people
again the
are
next
like,
time.
"We're crying."
And if you're not walking out of there crying, I have not done my job.
Exactly. So does each time you do it, does it have a different director or
No, well,
a different slideshow? You do a slideshow with it.
My brother is in charge of the multimedia, and he constantly explores ways to evolve the images with the stories. And since these stories were new to this production, this was the brand new. You saw basically a debut of a new show, because the dance was
this. Like here, we have a screen on stage.
Right.
We have you singing. You have a group behind you.
Right. So I mean, the principles we do have a group, a live quartet.
Yeah,
which
they're
plays. We do have
great.
multimedia, but there's a new dance. This dance was completely new.
The dance.
The dance that I did with the Buddy Ebsen character.
Yes, the Buddy
out.
Ebsen. We have some pictures of the Buddy
Yeah.
Ebsen character. And did that just come up right here?
Yeah, that's Gregory Gast, and he taught me. The dance. He basically taught me. He's a wonderful actor and tap dancer, and he danced at my father's memorial back in 2003.
So had he danced with your father?
No, he
had
didn't even
never-
know my dad.
Oh.
He was hired to play at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for this big public ceremony for my dad in 2003.
Oh.
I never met him. He reached out to me about 5 years later, and then we connected. I said, I want to learn to
Because
tap.
it's really scary to see somebody really perform
Yeah.
like your father, or you're supposed to be on stage showing people.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
It's daunting.
It
It's
is.
a very daunting task. He took it on with great vigor and passion. He's passionate about the show. And the idea is really, you know, trying to connect with my father in however way I possibly can through the items in the trunk. The dance with him just has so many metaphoric, you know, meanings, you know, when you think about ongoing, and then he has to leave, and, you know.
And he leaves, yes.
And then, oh, you have to put everything back. It's just a very emotional show for me. And I honestly, at the beginning of the weekend, wasn't sure I was going to be able to get through 3 performances.
But it was 2 hours, right?
It was about
almost
2 hours.
2
yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
And your group didn't take over that much.
No.
I mean, you're on
I'm
the
on.
whole time.
I'm on. I tend
And
to do that.
you play the
Oh, the banjo.
The banjo. So you found did you find the banjo in the trunk too?
Well, we added that.
You
I'll be honest.
added that.
We added that part because we thought it would be sweet to connect to the hillbilly theme, and you know, I really.
That's so cute. I love that.
I really love that. It was actually our director's idea, and I went, okay, I'll do it, and it was neat because again, my dad played the guitar, so you know, it's basically it's the metaphor for his guitar, which I used to play. I used to pull his guitar out. It was a beautiful old Martin that Fess Parker gave him, and you know, I do play a little bit of guitar, but the banjo is a whole nother instrument, man. That's like
It's like a real picky,
it's a real
right?
picking
And a
thing, so-
guitar is more
yeah.
strummy.
Yeah, exactly. So,
But Fez Parker lived here in Beverly Hills
yeah,
for a while.
Yeah. I knew him more when he
Was
when
in
he lived
Malibu?
later. Well, up in Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara,
he lived
yeah,
up there.
yeah.
But he was a great family friend, and I spent time with him in his later years.
So where do you think this play will go?
Oh, I want to go to New York. That's what I'd like to do. So we're right now looking for people to help us get there, investors. We're looking for new theaters. We're looking for new opportunities.
So what kind of theater would it be? Would it be on Broadway, off Broadway?
Well, if I had my druthers, it would go to it would go to Broadway, and it would go to a theater that my dad performed in.
Oh, wouldn't that be
I
great?
think that would be really beautiful. That would be lovely.
So
And
how much of this autobiography did you use?
I used this was my reference book. So I'd reference facts through it because it's a terrific.
Is it accurate?
Well, it's he wrote
Yeah,
it, so,
I mean, so
yeah.
it's accurate.
It's as accurate
Did
as
he-
his mind was. in the
Did he
90s when
remember?
wrote it,
Yeah, did he remember
But I
everything?
mean, it tells you real inside stories about the Wizard of Oz and stories about Audrey Hepburn and his first coming to New York in the late 20s.
And when you talked about the Wizard of Oz, he started it, and then Jack Haley took over.
Yeah, so my father was a contract player for MGM, like Jack Haley, and Ray Bolger became all the Hollywood agents started scouting the New York stages for the talent to bring back in the 30s. So my dad and his sister Vilma, who were partners, came out and did Broadway Melody of 1936, and then they dropped Vilma, MGM did, because there were too many female dancers. That's what was the problem. There were too many good dancers. She was a great dancer. My dad continued on, and The Wizard of Oz came to the studio, and Arthur Freed, who was L.B. Mayer's right-hand man, told Dad prematurely that he was going to play the Scarecrow. So that was
and the Scarecrow was Ray Bolger.
Exactly.
And Ray Bolger was always at Good Shepherd, our Catholic church here on
Yeah.
Bedford, and
he was an amazing dancer.
He would take the offering, and when he'd walk down the aisle holding the plate, it was like, that's Ray Bolger walking down the aisle.
But if you look at his early pictures, I mean, he could do a full splits in midair. He was a ballet dancer, and he also had this rubber knee dance that he was doing in New York as
Well, he would walk
vaudevillian.
down like duck walk.
Yeah, there you go. Very flexible. So my dad knew that he was going to get the Scarecrow, and they switched parts. Dad became the Tin Man, and after a few weeks of inhaling aluminum powder, which is what happened, is the makeup was not. It was white grease paint, and then they dusted him with aluminum, like real aluminum
so
powder.
he
inhaled it, and eventually it coated the inside of his lungs like paint, and he couldn't get oxygen to his blood, and he collapsed. He woke up in the middle of the night, unable to breathe. He thought he was dying. He rushed him to the hospital, and took him weeks to recover.
But he did recover, and
He did.
recovered very well.
He did, he
right?
did.
Because he lived a long life.
He lived a long life, and he went back to MGM, and he didn't feel they really believed he was that sick. However, all through his life, he had respiratory issues, but
Oh,
he
he
did
did.
live to be 95.
He did.
The funny part is when MGM released the 50th anniversary of the Wizard of Oz, they asked Dad to come back and help him promote it. After
Because they thought he was in it, right? Or he was in it in
He
the
was
beginning.
in it, but he was the only one alive.
I know.
Him and Munchkin, right? So he's the only one that actually could go do the promo. And he was
I
like,
got
you're
it.
kidding me, right? So actually, though, what they did is they put all that footage at the end of the DVD, all the lost footage that my dad was in, all the promo reels,
Oh,
the
great.
footage, If I Only Had a Heart that my dad sang, and my dad got credit for singing on the soundtrack. He'd always sang on the soundtrack. They never took him off the recordings. He'd never been credited for it until recently.
Wow.
So, I
so
think
that
it
was
good.
one good thing that really came out of.
Well,
this-
yeah,
I mean, another
exactly.
good thing, not one good thing,
It
but
was
another.
just what was so weird is that we never heard the story. I was growing up. We watched it as a family hundreds of times. No one said, "Hey, you know, your dad was in the."
You
story.
never knew that.
Not until I was an adult.
That's so interesting.
That's how private my dad was about, the painful parts.
Okay, that's a good point to make. Now he was so private about the painful part, but about all these parts, because you talk about them, I mean, on the Broadway stage, how do you think he'd handle that?
Oh, him talking about me?
No,
Oh,
you
no.
talking
I mean,
about
how do you think he would handle
How
this
would
right
he-
now?
Right.
You
No,
know?
even if it were on Broadway.
I
don't
think.
know.
You don't think he'd like it?
I don't know.
I
it
think
was
the only
so
reason
private.
I see that's in human form.
But you know what? At
I honestly
95,
believe that as you get older and you evolve, it's about being really transparent. And I don't believe that I would have found this stuff if my dad hadn't opened a door and said, "Hey, check under that. Check
Yeah, you
under
want-
all those
this
boxes,"
is-
because there's too many things that are happening that are opening doors for the show. Every day I wake up, there's something new up. There's a piece of information that I find, and there's this beautiful sense of warmth. And I say at the end of the show that when my dad passed away, his light surrounded me.
And
I
his
inhaled
spirit
his
is
spirit.
there,
So
right?
and plus, my dad's an actor. Do you think he doesn't want his name in lights?
I think
Are you
so. No, I
serious?
think,
Really?
I think by the
He's
time
like going, "Come on, get over there. We're gonna get to New York and get that Tony."
exactly get to New York and let people know what I am.
I want
But-
to do that. I want to accept the award and dedicate it to my family.
But I think when we look back on it, at being in his 90s, he would love to sit there and go, "Oh, did I do that? Oh, did I do that? Oh, look what she's doing. It's great."
I think he would be thrilled. I think he is thrilled.
I think
Both of my
watching
parents
it.
have softened him quite a bit.
Well, you lived through that. He was famous through being the Jed Clampett, which is like, I think, everybody's favorite Beverly
yeah.
Hillbillies. It's just
It
so
was
the
iconic.
best, right?
The writing, Paul Henning, it was amazing.
It was amazing. And are you a Beverly Hills Billy? Are you a Beverly Hills Billy?
Am I Beverly?
Did you ever feel like you were part of that family?
Oh, well, I was a kid. It was all just like crazy fun to go down to the set, and everyone was so sweet. I just would walk in and.
Did you go down all the time?
All the time, yeah. We were like 5, 6, 7 years old, my brother and I, and we'd run around, get in the truck, and try to get to start. And I'd go hang out with the animals, the kangaroo and the goats and the chickens and the dog and Duke. There were a couple of Dukes. I hope you. There was the old Duke, the one that just would lay around all the time.
Yeah.
And then the one whenever Duke would get up and like run somewhere, they had like a puppy Duke
That
was
could do
3.
that.
Yeah, it was 3 years old. But it was really awesome to be there. It was weird to see my dad with a mustache, and like didn't quite understand all that. But we understood.
Was it a fake
after.
mustache?
Oh
or
yeah.
Did he? It was a
Yeah. It was a fake mustache. But my dad was set to retire. He actually wasn't. He was when we moved down to Balboa. Before the Hillbillies, he had already decided to go into semi-retirement because he wanted to write a musical. It's another reason I have to go to New York. He
right.
wants a musical on Broadway.
Okay.
And then his agent said, "You got to meet with this writer, Paul Henning. I think he has a good idea for you." And that was the Hillbillies.
That was it. Oh,
Yeah.
it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Well, we're gonna leave, but we're gonna ask you why I called you Kiki, but I introduced you as Kirsten, and you use Kiki all the time, right?
I do. That's my nickname. Kirsten actually is the female version of my dad's real name, Christian. So I was named after my parents. And my first name is actually Nancy, and my middle name is Kirsten. So I was named after both my parents, and I could not say Kirsty, which is what they wanted to call me. Kirsty. I was a little girl, I was a baby, and I said Kiki. And I was so emphatic with saying Kiki that my parents said, "Okay, you're Kiki."
You're Kiki.
I'm Kiki.
And you were Kiki with us today. Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thanks for watching the Beverly Hills View. We'll see you next time. I'm Joan Quinn. Bye.